soul knows what it needs. And if you listen and you allow, going with the Deo philosophy, is it Deo or Teo? I think it's pronounced Deo, of just allowing, the universe will unfold and you will go on the journey that you are supposed to be on at that given time. Now, if you look through the backlog of my YouTube channel, and I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that you go off and look through all my old videos, you will see the journey that I've been on since I started this channel. And having this YouTube channel is really teaching me a lot about myself. So when I first started this channel, it was me getting on camera and just waffling and relaying my thoughts, sharing what I was learning with no real direction, no real goal, no real purpose as to why I was doing it. And then I started to study the occult and do the magic. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to teach this stuff. But then I realised that I didn't know enough to be able to teach it. And I also recognised that teaching was actually a weakness of mine. I'm not a teacher. I tried the scripting, I tried various ways to get in front of the camera and talk about, I was going to do a bit on elemental magic, the Kabbalah. But the reality is, I'm not a teacher. That isn't one of my strengths. I'm not strong at reading script. It felt really unnatural to get in front of the camera and have a script in front of me. And there are a million other channels teaching this stuff. And I'm like, why is somebody going to come to my channel and listen to me talk about the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah Tree of Life, as an example? And I kept doing tarot readings, is the YouTube channel going in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. And it kept throwing back, think outside the box, new path, yada, yada, yada. But of course, the tarot doesn't tell you, it just guides you, it gives you hints as to basically what your soul is telling you, but the tarot's there as a symbolism. So I started asking myself, what can I do that is different to what everybody else is doing? And meanwhile, while all this is happening, wondering where I was going to take the channel, I started to become really jaded with the whole spiritual movement. My YouTube feed was just an echo chamber. And I started to think, you know what? We are spirit. We know all of this. We don't need to go down those rabbit holes. And I started to think to myself about the likes of Plato, Aristotle, Carl Jung, Aleister Crowley, people that dedicated their lives to the philosophy of what is this cosmos? Why are we here? What is our purpose? Is it a school? Is it a trap? And they still died none the wiser. So what I've learned from that is we've just got to live life. We've just got to get on with life. So whilst I'm coming to this gnosis of, do I need to be going down the route of the occult? Now, the reason why I started to go down the occult is I wanted to know the truth. But the further I got into it all, the left-hand path, the clip off, the right-hand path, the middle path, the Kabbalah, I started to realise nobody knows the answer. Nobody knows the real truth. So again, it became an echo chamber for me. And the harder I tried to have spiritual experiences, the less spiritual experiences I actually had. And I also started to question, how do I know when something is an actual experience versus something that's in my mind, something that could potentially become spiritual psychosis? And then I'm reading all these accounts of experiences that people have had, and it's like, how do they know they've had that experience and it isn't in their head? And yes, absolutely, there's the argument, well, what is mind? What is in your head? I get all of that. So I started to question my magical journey, because that's what I do. I literally question everything. And that could be a blessing or it could be a curse. It's a bit of both. So there was that going on in my head. And then there were other people around me that were becoming equally jaded with the whole spiritual journey. Like one guy that I met who we used to have these deep philosophical, spiritual conversations about this realm and what it was. He's moved back to where he came from, Australia, and he's gone, I'm over it. And I'm like, that's where I'm at. This occultist who was with this other occultist, and I mentioned this in my other video regarding the, cult leaders and gurus, etc. And this lad is calling this other lad out, and also my own experiences. My fears and my anxieties, although they do pop up occasionally, they don't stay with me for as long. The nightmares of the spiders I've had since I was in my 20s have dissipated, and now they've completely disappeared. So whatever I have been doing on this journey has been helping me work on my internal without me really having to hone in. It's been a natural progression, shall we say. So going back to this channel and its natural morphing into the storytelling, of course I was getting the messages from the tarot, think outside the box, new path. And then I watched this film called Beautiful Mind, and I was so inspired by this film. It was literally a film, hardly any dialogue. The cinematography was just, it was amazing. As I've said in another video, it's gritty, it's raw, it touches on some quite triggering content. So if you're easily triggered, it's probably not for you. But it's basically a montage of this guy's thoughts. I'm like, that's who I am. That's what my videos are. They're a montage of my thoughts. And then, whilst I was thinking about how I could create my own take on, doing the cinematography, the video, the storytelling, I came across a filmmaker. Again, I've mentioned him a couple of times, Rock Wilk. So the point of this video is your soul knows what it needs. And if you listen and you allow, going with the Deo philosophy, is it Deo or Teo? I think it's pronounced Deo, of just allowing, the universe will unfold and you will go on the journey that you are supposed to be on at that given time. Now, this is key. Your journey will change because nothing stays the same. So this journey that I'm on now, this channel, again, may morph into something else. And again, if we go back to the astrology and my own personal astrological blueprint, it mentions the occult, it mentions the magic, but it also mentions writing, it mentions getting my voice heard, speaking to people across the world. So again, the take home from this is listen, just allow the journey to unfold. And we're so conditioned to control everything, and absolutely that there is an element of control. And again, here I go on the whole duality of life, the yin and the yang.